Hey guys, I'm gonna try and make this short. I don't want to make a super long video. I'm not gonna do the whole lesson, but I am gonna talk to you a little bit about just some parts of this lesson and important things to keep in mind. I also have this on our post for tomorrow's assignment, so if you need to refer back to it, you can view the post and read what I put here. One thing to remember that's going to be helpful today, anytime that you go to write an equation from a word problem that is using percentages, we represent percentages as decimals. Okay, so I know that can be kind of confusing because when we see percentages, they are whole numbers like 80%, 25, or 50%. Those are whole numbers. But when we go to use them in an equation, we write them as decimals, which represents a value less than 1. So like if we see 80% of something, when we go to put that in the equation, we're going to write it as 0.80 or 0.8. 25% would be 0.25. 50%, 0.5 or 0.50. When we see the word of, we're going to replace that with times. And then when we see the word is, we can replace that with equals. Okay, so if we pop over here to the first part of the lesson, excuse me, it says bottle A contains 4 ounces of water, which is 25% of the amount of the water in bottle B. How much water is there in bottle B? So if I take this sentence right here and I translate that to an equation, okay, bottle A contains 4 ounces of water, which is 25% of the amount of water in bottle B. So we're looking for the amount of water in bottle B. So if I translate that first sentence, 4 ounces of water, okay, I'm using a tablet here, so bear with me. 4 ounces of water, and this is, so I'm going to use equals, is 25% of the amount in B. So the amount in B is what we're looking for. So I'm gonna use X for that. That's the unknown number. I'm gonna translate this 25% here to a decimal, 0.25. Okay. And then of means times. Now I could write like a dot here for the times, or I could just, let's see, how can I undo that? I don't know. I could have just wrote an X right there as well. Okay. And so once I have that set up like that, then what we're looking for is this X here. Okay. So I need to divide by 25 hundredths because that'll get X alone, which means I have to divide 4 by 25 hundredths. So then I can set that up as a long division problem. 4 divided by, now I'm going to actually move the decimal here, my 25 hundredths. I'm going to move it to the right twice so that I have 25 here. Okay, so if I do that for that number, then I need to change my 4. I have to move the decimal twice there. If we don't see a decimal, then it's right after the whole number. And if I move that decimal to the right twice, that's going to add 2 zeros. So 25 hundredths, or 4 divided by 25 hundredths is equal to 400 divided by 25. Now I didn't leave myself a lot of room here to work, so I apologize. Like I said, I'm using this drawing tablet thing I have, but I don't really use it, so that explains my messiness. So then you just work it out long division. How many 25s go into 40? Just one. So I would put my 1 right there. 1 times 25, 25. 40 minus 25 is 15. Drop down my 0. 25 goes into 150. 6 times 25 is 150. So then I would be done. 16 would be my answer. So if I come back over here then, how much water is there in bottle B? There's 16. Come on. Ounces. Come on. If we jump down here to 1A, so now there's 3 statements here. We have to say if they are true or not. So it's asking you, is 60% of 400 equal to 87? So we have to find 60% of 400 and see if that is equal to 87. So if I set that up as an equation, okay, I'm going to put my 60% as a decimal, okay. Of means times 400. Is that equal to 87? So I got to do this multiplication, okay? 60% 0.60, it can also just be written as 6/10 because that 0 at the end can be dropped if no other numbers follow it, okay? So really I have 6/10 times 400. So I can set that up over here as a multiplication problem. I can go through the steps then. 6 times 0, 0, 6 times 0, 0, 6 times 4 is 24. So I look at my original problem. I have one number that comes after a decimal, so I'm going to go to my answer, place my decimal, so I have one number after it in my answer. And the answer to the question would be no. 60% of 400 is not equal to 87 because what we just found here, this answer, this 240, again, I apologize for how messy this is. There's a button on this pen I keep hitting, which is when it like doesn't write. That 240, that is what 60% of 400 is. So because it wasn't 87, then no, 60% of 400 is not equal to 87. Okay. So then go ahead and do that same thing for these 2 problems and see if 60% of 200 would be 87 and see if 60% of 120 would be 87. Okay. This one says 60% of, let me clear this, 60% of x is equal to 87. Write an equation that expresses the relationship between 60% x and 87. So this is where we have to take that. Why I did not mean to cross it out. This is where we have to take this right here and translate it into an equation. So I would write my 60% as a decimal of means times x. I'm just going to put that x right next to my decimal because that shows it's being multiplied, equals 87. Okay, so that is my equation. That is my answer. Now it says here, solve your equation. So now I have to get this x alone, okay, which means I need to divide it by that 0.6 or 0.60, which means I have to divide that by 0.6. Okay, now if I go to set that up over here on the side, and if I write it like this, 87 divided by 6/10. Okay. Remember last unit, when we have decimals in our division problem, we want to get rid of them. Okay. So I'm going to turn the 6/10 into a 6 by moving the decimal to the right once, which means I need to move the decimal in this number to the right once, so I can write an equivalent equation. So what that's going to turn into then is 870, because I fill that empty space there with a 0, divided by 6, because this is equal to what we originally had here. But now we don't have decimals, so we're able to go through the process and do 6 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract 8 minus 6 is 2. Drop down your 7. 6 goes into 27. 4 times 6, 24. 27 minus 24 is 3. Drop down your 0. I'm getting a little bit better at this. 6 goes into 30. 5 times 6 is 30. Now I'm all done. I have no more numbers to drop down. My remainder is 0. So my answer is 145. So that means that x equals 145. Okay. For these two, then, you're going to write the equation just like we did here. So just like we did there. I not mean to go up. You're going to write an equation similar to that, but using these numbers and then going through the same process of dividing. Okay. And then when you go to divide, you're going to want to get rid of your decimals like we did here. Okay. Which means that both the numbers are going to increase. This one you'll have to just move the decimal once because it'll be the same thing of 0.6. This one you're going to have to move it twice because you're going to have 0.38 over here, which you want to turn into 38. And that means then that this is going to become 19,000 because you would take this decimal, move it to the right 2 spots. And so what you're going to have here is 19,000 divided by 38, and that then will equal your E. If we look at these puppies that we talked about earlier in the year, they're growing up. It says puppy A weighs 8 pounds, which is 25% of its adult weight. What will the adult weight of puppy A be? So if I wanted to set this up as an equation, puppy A weighs 8 pounds, which is 25% of its adult weight. So it does not weigh its adult weight yet, but the 8 pounds is 25% of its adult weight. So in my equation, I have 8. So if I write that here, 8 means equals, little face, equals 25% of its adult weight. So I'm going to convert that percent to a decimal. 25. And of its adult weight, we don't know that. That's the number we're looking for. So that's going to be x. Okay. So now to get x alone, I have to divide by 0.25. Okay, so I have 8 divided by 25 hundredths. If I come over here, 8 divided by 25 hundredths. I want to get rid of that decimal, so I'm going to turn that into 25 by moving that decimal to the right twice, 1, 2, which would move the decimal here to the right twice, 1, 2, and fill those in with zeros. So then my division problem is 800 divided by 25, because that's equivalent to 8 divided by 25 hundredths. 25 goes into 80, 3 times. 3 times 25, 75, subtract 80 minus 75, 5, drop down near 0. 25 goes into 50 twice. 2 times 25 is 50. That equals 0. Nothing else to drop down. My answer is 32. So x equals 32. So the puppy's adult weight would be 32 pounds. Okay. Another way that you could have looked at this too is turning this into a fraction. Okay. And so what that would look like, I'll do it up over here. I'll try to. 8 equals 25% as a fraction would be 25 over 100, and then multiplied by its adult weight, which we're looking for, x. So then you would divide by 25 over 100, which would, once you divide 8 by 25 over 100, you would have 8. Put that over 1 to make it a fraction, divided by 25 over 100. And then at this point, if you're doing it this way, you have to identify, now I have a fraction divided by a fraction, so that means I have to do keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction the same, flip change your operation sign to times, flip your second fraction. Come on. So I would have 100 over 25. And would you look at that? Once I multiply it across, I have 800 over 25, which means 800 divided by 25. And we just did that right over here. So it ends up turning out to be the same thing, just kind of a different way that you go about doing it. Okay. So I'm anticipating this lesson is probably going to bring some questions. It's definitely a tricky one because it kind of takes everything we have done all year and kind of brings it into one. We're dividing fractions, we're converting percents into decimals, we're setting up equations in which we're solving for x. So just take your time, okay, when you're working through these. If you need to watch this video a couple times to kind of just let it soak in, sometimes watching it through a few times, you'll pick up things in your additional tries that you didn't catch the first time. So don't feel like you're not getting it if you don't get it all the first time you watch it or the first time you watch the Mr. Morgan video. Okay, so just take your time going through it, and if you have to watch it a few times, go ahead and do that because that's going to help you. Sounds like the first 2 days have gone all right. You guys have been really good for Miss Olson, so thank you for that. Keep it up, and I will see y'all on Tuesday when I come back. All right, see you guys.